Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy 2021 New Year's Day. Congratulations. Yes, 2020 is behind us. I hope you enjoyed our New Year's Eve special yesterday. I did. CJ thought it was one of our, I think he actually said best episode of the year. So yeah, keep getting better and better. Now, yesterday's show was a lot of fun. Felt like a really appropriate way to end the year. And the takeaway is, that there's this sort of mass hysteria of negativity around 2020 that is not helpful, frankly, but it's also not historically accurate. And one of the things I think we do with this production compared to most news outlets, especially even libertarian news outlets, is taking that longer term, bigger picture, step back, get some perspective analysis. And one of the stories we showed yesterday was like historians looking at this going, worst year ever? not even close. So we had a lot of fun with that yesterday. We had some great guests. Big shout out to the Blind Justice team. That's Mike Nelson and Christina Nelson, to G.I. Mary Jane, who joined us, to Zach Foster and Ryan Ramsey. Really fun show yesterday. And for all of our panel being with us, it was a great way to end the year. Unfortunately, today's show feels like the actual end of the year, and it's an even better way to end the year because from now on, because we're taking 2 weeks mostly off, definitely the first week. We'll see what happens in a second. We might do some guest hosts while I'm gone. We'll probably do one special edition show from Hawaii, at least maybe like a Cigars and Sunsets kind of thing from Hawaii. Who knows? But I guess sunset in Hawaii would be like middle of the night for everybody else. But we'll have fun with it. We'll do something. Last night, my wife and I, we found out that our COVID tests are negative. And, I think, I mean, of course, I want to go, well, it's because I don't wear masks. It's because I'm so freaking healthy and awesome and take it now. But it's just, all right, one less thing to worry about, right? So we're going to Hawaii tomorrow. Very exciting. But today's show is the cutting edge of good news part 2. And this is what we're going to be doing on Fridays from now. And I love this. And to see our producers club putting in stories. Well, really what I have to do is I during the week, I see so many like good news innovation stories that don't quite fit in, we got to cover this today stuff. So taking Friday for the cutting edge of good news, just so you know what that means to me, because I'm the editor-in-chief here, and that's what matters. We have 5 categories in the cutting edge of good news: human optimization, tech innovation, exploration, alien life, and understanding nature. Now, today we also have a couple special things about being New Year's Day at the end of the show to look forward to. And your calls. We're taking calls today. You can win membership in the Producers Club by calling in, and if you got the best call of the day for today, you win membership, no comment contest. We're going to make it. Mercedes is filling in for comment. Jim Freedom is our co-host today. We'll be watching your comments, and we always appreciate the support and love in the comment, and the trolls. Really appreciate the trolls. I mean, if it wasn't for the trolls, we wouldn't have anything fun to respond to, right? Too many firsts. Good morning. Love the show. But that's cool, too. So Mercedes will be watching the comments, but she is also getting right now, as I speak, the link to call into our show on every whatever it is that we're broadcasting on. I don't know. We're on YouTube and Twitter at least, and I don't know, maybe we're on Facebook. I love that we have producer CJ, and I don't have to worry about any of that. But if you're watching live right now, somewhere you're watching, there will be in the comments a link to StreamYard.com/whatever that is for this special production, this episode, and you can click in, and it's so easy. It's so easy. And you do audio only. Just turn your camera off with a click of a button. No big deal. And when you call in or click in on that link, CJ will see you backstage and let me know that we have a caller. Simple as that. And if you're wondering, hey, what's up with the Producers Club? If you don't know, that is our it's a lot of things. It is our editorial team, our volunteer editorial team, and they do an incredible job feeding me stories. And especially, it's like all these positive stories, the aliens. I'm not saying it's alien. Is my hair like enough. I can do the aliens thing when we get to the George Tsoukalos impersonation when we get to the aliens block. I think that was a one-time deal, CJ. No, probably not going to happen again. But if you want to be in the Producers Club, $10 a month on Patreon. You go to AdamVersusTheMan.com. There's a link there to Patreon, patreon.com/AdamVersusTheMan. And $10 a month is really where it's at. Producer Club status is one of our better patrons. And for $10 a month, you also get 15% off and free shipping on all the Adam versus the Man merchandise at the store. Really cool stuff CJ's put together there. And it's such a fun conversation. I love it. You know, what is the Producers Club? Our volunteer editorial team, the people who support the show, all this and more, including access to the Adam versus the Man Producers Club Bullshitters Anonymous, will be yours for just $10 a month. Don't forget, this is the last time we're going to do this. Last time, unless we start making some debates happen. MakeThemDebate.com. Check it out. MakeThemDebate.com. We did it once. It worked great. Haven't had the interest to make another one happen since then, but it was an awesome experience. You can see my profile there and a little bit of the history and the first debate that we did there with Dario Rahim. And it was a really good one. So check that out. And then finally, not finally, we got another 2 hours. Don't worry. CigarFederation.com, where promo code Adam10, ADAM10, all caps, gets you 10% off. Please check it out. Support our affiliates. And CigarFederation.com is where promo code ADAM10, Adam10, all caps, gets you 10% off. Finally, in our promos, don't forget to follow us, even though I won't be home for a while, at the Garden of Freedom on Instagram. All right, let's get Mercedes up here. Mercedes, what do we? Yeah, this is nice. Isn't this nice? What are you grimacing for? It's Friday, and we're talking about the good. We got fun stories piled up.
No,
this is gonna be a good show.
It's 2021, and it feels like Monday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does have a weird
vibe.
Corona time.
Well, I was in bed by 10:30, so
there it is. I was wondering how long it was going to take him on that, but this is not medical. Even though we're not talking about the Rona at all today, this is not medical advice.
Sorry, I have a boxer who got locked in my office with me because I have all the furry babies down here today. So as far as comments go, we have a Happy New Year, Adam versus the Man from Craig, and then a flower and an amen from I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry.
Iftikhar Mukhtar.
I'll let you do that because I suck. And he said amen to whatever else you were saying. And those are our only comments today. I think everybody else is still sleeping, honestly. Speaking of like New Year's Eve traditions, like my Facebook is flooded with, does anybody have any black-eyed peas and collard greens today? And I've never heard of that. And it turns out Matt and I were speaking before, and in the South on New Year's Day, you barbecue and eat collard greens and cornbread and black-eyed peas, and you barbecue and stuff, which is weird to me because it's cold out.
Isn't it like every day in the South?
I have no idea. I'm not in the South. Because here our tradition is go out, get drunk, and then sleep until 1 o'clock on New Year's Day and just be hungover.
Well, Mercedes, before we jump into the first pile of human optimization stories, the Good News Network. Yeah, this is. Oh, yeah,
it's for New Year's.
For the good fortune.
Okay. It's a Southern thing. I guess I just have more Southern friends this year.
So this is a worldwide tradition that I had neither of us really do, but apparently. Worldwide tradition: eat beans on New Year's Day for good luck.
Peas and greens.
Peas and greens. I don't believe in magic beans. I don't believe in magic peas. I don't believe in magic greens. But thank you, Sam. I am. What? Grapes for who's us?
Grapes for the. Yeah, that one I did know.
Grapes. Eat grapes.
I knew that one. That's the only one I knew. I don't know.
I
So
thought-
yeah.
I have a tradition though that has always brought me really good luck, and it's on every New Year's Day for like the past decade. I think I woke up and smoked weed. Was that?
Did we smoke weed every day? Is that what we do on this show?
Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day.
I hope that never gets old. Although
I like that. I like it a lot.
The regular music. We need excuses for musical interludes more on Anna versus the Man. Generally,
It's time for it.
So-
It's a toke break time. Toke breaks are smoking weed every day.
Yeah, and I have enough respect for my audience to not get like stoned before the show, because I can get weed can make it harder for me to put sentences together.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of interviews that are challenging that we do, and stories that we cover that are heavy that we'll start with. And I'll start the show usually like pretty straight sober. And so, we do like the heavy monologues at the beginning of the show sometimes when there's like big bad shit going on we got to talk about. But like today is a nice chill show. There's no challenging guests, no bad stories.
No, it's just chill.
There are, part of the, I wouldn't like be wasting people's time to just be like, oh wow, cool, let's look at what's going on. And no, like there's like, especially the human this is all applicable information. I'd like to, some of it is, there is some that is sort of like marveling at nature. We don't have a lot of those stories today. We had a lot for the last show. New whale species discovered, things like that, plants coming back from extinction because seeds were buried in a bog. Like that was some cool stuff. But even that, there is kind of an element of, oh wow, that's like you have to have some of that in your life. I think I was listening to some Joe Rogan stand up randomly recently on my Pandora, and there's one line that stuck with me. I'll go to church with anybody who will smoke pot and look through a telescope with me. That's Joe Rogan. Like, yes, and I obviously it's a funny way of saying it, but and I actually do enjoy going to church as an experience when I have the excuse, which is like a few times a year. Or when I feel like connecting with that part of my community at home in Arizona. But yeah, that sort of openness. And so today, in the human optimization block, we're going to do first here, and in the tech block, there's some sort of challenging stories where you're going to, we're going to challenge you. We're going to challenge you to your self-awareness. We're going to, hopefully we can show you some opportunities that to be more self-aware, to enjoy life better, and it's like better living through science, through objective, rational logic, reason, and evidence, and looking at how to make the world a better place, how to make your life better. But before we get to that, Mercedes, the first story from Good News Network is the first meteor shower of 2021 will light up the night sky on New Year's weekend. That's right. 2021 looks to be an exciting year for stargazers, with the first big celestial event happening this weekend as the quadrantid meteor shower peaks from January 2 into January 3. First spotted in 1825, the quadrantids, also known as the Boötids, that Boötids, happened. I'm not mispronouncing that word. Also known as the Boötids, I just like saying it though. Happens every year between December 28 and January 12. Now known to originate from an asteroid called 1003 EH1. The meteors, also known as the Boötids, the Boötids appear to radiate from the modern constellation of Bootis, NASA explains. Even though the constellation may no longer be recognized, it was considered a constellation long enough to give the meteor shower its name. So we have a meteor shower named after what astronomers thought was a constellation. Now, what I assume that means, Mercedes, hopefully this explains it, that to be a constellation, there has to be a standard of rigidity in the sky from the Earth perspective. And a lot of things look that way sort of temporarily in celestial terms, for generations or hundreds of years, or didn't move perceptibly. But so we're mistaken for constellations. That's my understanding of the astronomical history. Does that kind of explain it?
It was a constellation for a brief period of time, but its drift is moved enough now that it's no longer considered that anymore.
That's possible, or it never was and was simply misrecognized. I don't know. Maybe someone's.
You mean like Pluto? Pluto is a planet.
Back to the meteor shower. I'm just trying to sound smart. The American Meteor Society is reporting that along with the Perseids and Geminids we reported on in 2020, the quadrantids could be the strongest shower of the season. So how to see them: look up late on Saturday night or before dawn on Sunday, and you may see between 60 and 200 meteors per hour as they travel at 25.5 miles per second. You may also see the fireballs of quadrantids. They misspelled it on this story. Are known for spectacularly bright. They appear visible for longer than other meteors. You'll need to get your timing right, though. The peak of this meteor shower will only last for around 6 hours. That's a pretty juicy target. I mean, the other thing that's cool about this is the regularity about this, that we know that this comes from an asteroid that we have a name for. Oh, it's a shitty name, 1003 EH1. Dear 1003 EH1, thank you for our impending meteor shower this weekend.
Can his name be Pete?
Pete? Sure. From now on, he shall be known as Pete.
Thank you.
But you can call it he if you have to.
Pete.
Are meteors, are asteroids he's or she's?
They are thems, for they have no
you
gender.
You have to check if they have balls, right?
They don't have gender. Celestial beings have no gender. And speaking of celestial beings and meteor showers, when viewing meteor showers, if they are dim, if you look out from your peripheral vision, you will see them brighter. Just a little tip from me to you. Don't ask me why I can't remember the scientific reason behind it. Something about how your eye perceives light.
Well, hopefully we'll have a good view of this from Hawaii. Mercedes, anything else before we jump into well, I guess we have one other sort of big story that's a little, to start the show, it's a little out of the norm for a good news, but I think this is important. We didn't get to it. But before we do you have any other critical comments?
Yeah, I do. Peter Yapel says, Happy New Year all. Take back ownership of yourself. Hi, Peter.
Indeed.
I love you, Peter. Yeah, Elizabeth is waiting in line to pick up her kids because the coach thought it would be cool to have practice at 8 a.m. And Tommy Peterson says, I grew up in Louisiana, and we did that every year in regards to the Good Luck Feast. So I'm just a northerner.
They're just better at partying in New Orleans, like for everything year round, like duh.
Also,
I've been there.
Mary also says she loves my shirt. It has a pocket. So, thanks. I love this shirt, too. But you can't actually see it.
A camo t-shirt with a pocket.
Yeah, yes. And it has no welding
Where else
sparks
did you
in
put your pocket protector?
Well, in my pocket. Actually, this one does have spark burns in it. I weld in all my shirts, so. I thought this was a good shirt, but it's not.
So, Mercedes, you're gonna dig this first story. This is a big, important one. You'll see why. I'll explain why it's like cutting edge and innovation. But this is such a big block. We're going to do like 3 or 4 stories and then come back to comments and hopefully have a caller on the line here. I know there are a couple we're expecting from the Producers Club today, so looking forward to hearing from y'all. First, though, from IJ.org, that is Institute for Justice, big headline that the mainstream media seems to have glossed over this week for some reason. Or this month, rather, because this is part of a much bigger ongoing story. And I am so grateful that we have come to this point. Now, today's episode is the cutting edge of good news. And this is just unambiguously good news. But there is a sort of cutting edge of accountability here. The headline is, U.S. Supreme Court rules unanimously you may sue government agents for damages when they violate your individual rights. Opinion closely follows Institute for Justice amicus brief. Now this, I hope I'm not overblowing the significance of this, because, or I should say, I hope this lives up to the hype. In an unanimous opinion issued today by the U.S. Supreme Court and authored by Associate Justice Clarence Thomas, the court ruled in Tanzan versus Tanvir that individuals may seek damages as a remedy when federal officers violate their rights. The opinion closely tracks an amicus brief submitted by the Institute for Justice. The case involved FBI agents who retaliated against Muslim Americans and green card holders who followed the dictates of their faith and refused to cooperate with the FBI by spying on their own communities. As a result of their refusal to cooperate, these individuals were placed on the no-fly list, which creates significant hardships, such as the inability to travel, to visit family, or for work. Luckily, Congress provided a statutory authorization to sue for violations of religious rights, allowing a plaintiff to receive appropriate relief against the government. Now, loopholes you could drive a tank through, right? And I've got plenty of experience with this. I hope my background is appropriate and relevant against the government here. I've been pepper sprayed. I've been unjustly arrested, essentially kidnapped. I've been roughed up by cops. You want to use their nice terms. I have been a victim of inappropriate use of force by U.S. law enforcement. There has been video of this numerous times. I have had my home raided on specious grounds. I've been a victim of plenty, and I don't want to complain. This is mostly in the deliberate civil disobedience of my activism. Of course, some of it is retaliation. It's that I can't say was planned or hoped for, but I also can't say wasn't anticipated. So I have a case right now of all the things that I've been subject to that way, in violence and harassment and violation of rights. I finally have one case, and we are very excited to have announced last week that my case in New Orleans, where I'm represented by the incredible Kearney Laughlin, is going to oral arguments. This is where I was arrested under the Southern version of stop and frisk. It's known as shall ID, as in you shall ID yourself and provide identification upon request of a cop. And it's functioning in the South in many places like stop and frisk. It's how officers are able to detain someone without due cause. So we're pursuing this, and they also dropped me on my head while I was in custody. So there's that. But we are pursuing this and going to oral arguments March 1st. So stay tuned for an update on that. But what is this appropriate relief against the government? Not surprisingly, in the lawsuit against the FBI agents, the government argued that the words appropriate relief do not include damages. According to the government, damages might be an appropriate remedy against private actors, but damages should not be allowed if the person who violated your rights happens to work for the government. I mean, in and of itself, like if someone came to you today and like if we didn't have any government, I know it's hard to imagine when it's taken on such a domineering role in our lives, but imagine we didn't have government and someone came to you and was proposing the idea of government today and said, well, we're gonna provide for your safety with police officers, and we're gonna make sure that they are totally held accountable. But if they beat you up, if it's in the line of duty and they were just doing their jobs, no, you're kind of screwed. You're not gonna. There's no. We're gonna create this space for psychopaths and violent criminals to put on a uniform and do their thing without getting punished for it. Yeah, that's our concept of like. What? Nobody would sign up for that. And yet this really gets to the arrogance of government, the busybody, I know for you better than you know for yourself, and I should be able to force my better opinion and judgment on you. It's that mentality. Oh, and if I screw up, oh, of course, no, I shouldn't be accountable for that because I was doing it for the right reasons. I was doing it out of love for you. Yeah, right. The Institute for Justice filed an amicus brief arguing against this radical notion. IJ's brief outlined how suits for damages against government officials are the historical cornerstone of government accountability, how damages are often the only way to vindicate constitutional rights, and how none of the government's policy justifications against damages have a basis in reality. IJ further explained that matters of policy should be left to Congress, not courts. In an unanimous opinion, the Supreme Court agreed. Quote, in the context of suits against government officials, damages have long been awarded as appropriate relief. And that has been true not only for state and local officials, but also federal officials, like those employed by the FBI. Moreover, the court highlighted that damages are important because they are often the only remedy available. For example, one of the plaintiffs, Mohammed Tanvir, who lost his job because of his placement on a no-fly list, it is damages or nothing. Finally, in response to the government's argument that policy favors denying a damages remedy against government officials, Justice Thomas, just like Justice Story 2 centuries before him, emphasized that it is the job of Congress to engage in policy making. Quote, there are no constitutional reasons why we must do so in its stead. The court today has provided its full-throated endorsement of damages as a necessary and historic mechanism for constitutional accountability, said Scott Bullock. This is IJ's president, Institute for Justice and General Counsel. In doing so, the court also reiterated its support for the foundational principles of this country, such as that damages can be awarded to check the government's power and that it is Congress's job to engage in policy making. The court's job is to interpret the law, not to do policy. So there's a bigger project here for the Institute of Justice, and I totally encourage anybody watching who appreciates this, there are people fighting on your behalf in this legal realm. This is part of its project on immunity and accountability, devoted to holding government officials accountable under the law. And this, their recent Supreme Court case, Brownback versus King, was a part of this project. So where this, I mean, this is absolutely critical work, and I'm grateful that the Institute for Justice exists, that there are so many hardworking people there, like Scott Bullock, and that he has, and they have the support of so many other people who are donating and sharing stories, donating to the IJ, the Institute for Justice, sharing stories like this, and helping people understand the importance of this work. As for this particular case and the legal implications of this, is this going to overnight revolutionize someone like me being able to sue the government for when I get roughed up protesting or detained illegally in some act of civil disobedience? Obviously not. But it could be a significant turning point. And I look forward to seeing how at other legal levels aside from the Supreme Court, because that's where this matters, right? It's the Supreme Court sets the precedent. All the lower courts, subsidiary courts, local courts, state courts have to follow that precedent under the Constitution. So, well, at least the federal courts do, right? And as it applies to federal law, and in some places, reaching over into state law as well. So this standard is the right one for this situation. Now, a lot of people might be going, Adam, why are you like championing the actions of the Supreme Court? Well, the actions of the Supreme Court in and of itself with this need to be put in context, because I can say these are great actions. This is a great decision. This could be a critical turning point for justice in America. This could be the case that they tell cops about in law enforcement academies and go, hey, by the way, as of this, December 2020 decision, yeah, you can't, you got to think maybe you're going to get, if you beat someone up, you might be sued for the damages that you caused to their body. You can't just destroy human flesh without accountability anymore, fellas. Hey, yeah, that would be huge. That in and of itself would make all of this worthwhile. But even more so, the leverage at the lower level courts. The thing is, the context. Why does this mean the Supreme Court is still part of the evil empire, the evil organization of the federal government? I'm not changing my bigger analysis here, but the Supreme Court, remember, in the libertarian understanding, serves to tap the brakes on government when the other branches get carried away, and do it in the name of righteousness and accountability, as opposed to the true criminal nature of the government racket, which is, how do we maintain our credibility? How do we keep this thing going? And the thing is, why did this happen now? And it's not. Yeah. There are personalities, there are historical circumstances, there are individuals like the lawyers who work for the Institute for Justice, and I like following the battle. It's exciting, but in the bigger picture, why did government go with this? It's not because they were suddenly motivated to do the right thing. No, it's that there have been too many cases. There have been too many high-profile police abuse cases over the last decades. I don't know how long, how far. To me, it goes all the way back to the history of police and slavery, runaway slaves, and the war on drugs, and like all these major historical dynamics in the United States that have led us to the police state we enjoy today. So if the rest of government needs, hey guy, basically government kind of exists to protect the banking racket at its core, to serve its purpose of keeping the super rich getting richer at the expense of the rest of us. So how does that apply to this decision? Well, if the goal of government is that, or the purpose of government is that, then they have to protect the banking racket at the heart of it. They have a lot of subsidiary rackets. They have a lot of like the pharmaceutical industry racket, the military industrial complex, the local zoning ripoff extortion racket, driver's licenses, professional licenses, traffic. All of these like subsidiary rackets are either distractions or just contributors to that primary racket of the central bank that's at the heart of the whole thing. So if what this means is that in order for government to protect the banking racket at its heart, it now has to give up this subsidiary racket of, oh yeah, we have law enforcement officers who are allowed to beat people up and never get sued for it. Well, then it's that's still, even in that bigger context that fully accounts for the evil nature of government. This little bit of government ceding a significant amount of power is something to be celebrated, along with the Institute for Justice and their work. All right, so now the rest of our stories today are a little more sort of traditional Friday, cutting edge of human optimization stories. Lightlynews.com, and this just kind of caught my eye. This is a hard story to read. I can't remember. I think someone sent us this in the producers club. Can 4 seconds of exercise make a difference? And of course, I'm a fitness buff. I'm a workout geek. Like, I love studying all this stuff. And I read this and I'm like, there's got to be more to it than that. And so the story starts out kind of making fun of this inclination to extreme laziness or efficiency, depending on your perspective, and what might be the definitive phrase on how little train we will get away with. A brand new Examine finds that a mere 4 seconds of intense intervals repeated till they quantify to a few minutes of whole exertion result in fast and significant enhancements in power, health, and common bodily efficiency amongst middle-aged and older adults. So I don't know if they got this from this is like translated into Swahili and then back into English, but there was a study that looked at the Examine. I'm just going to make fun of the language here for a while because it's ridiculous. The Examine relied on a sort of specialized stationary bicycle that isn't extensively obtainable. However, even so, the outcomes counsel that strenuous, however super abbreviated exercises can produce outsized advantages for our well-being, and well-being, a well-timed message as we plan our New Year's train resolutions. All right, I don't know where we got this story, but it's getting annoying. The point, though, is that they are still looking at the cutting edge of we are still exploring the cutting edge of human fitness optimization, and even something as seemingly insignificant as exercise timing is still being understood. And one of the things that I've found even more recently is that I can gain muscle weight better or more efficiently training less than I have. And not one thing, just I hadn't buried quite as consciously or deliberately, but working out less often and giving my body more recovery time in between. And so some of these experiments with high intensity training, I mean, who knows? Maybe we're limited by this idea of going to the gym. Maybe if everybody had their ideal logistics scenario, you'd have a squat rack next to your desk in the office, and you get up and do one set of squats every hour. Maybe that's it. Bottom line for y'all, and all of us as individuals right now, my general advice is experiment with yourself and find out what works and feels good for you. So more high-tech type cutting edge of human optimization story next from the Wall Street Journal. Alexa, hypnotize me. I mentioned this the other day, teasing head. I'm really glad we got the chance to get back to this, because this is something that I intend to get into. And now that I look at this and think about it, I guess I sort of have dabbled in this, but never in using the word hypnotize. And what I mean is I've used sleep apps and meditation apps, little reminder things like this. But apparently what you can do with an app is being taken to the next level. Hypnosis, now going virtual, is gaining more acceptance from doctors, researchers, and entrepreneurs, but potential patients remain skeptical. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a weird mainstream media intro to this, and it starts with the personal story entree to the topic. Kelly Cutler was deeply skeptical when she took part in a month-long pilot test of Reverie Health, a new digital hypnosis program at Stanford University last year. The San Francisco social worker needed help quitting smoking and only joined the program at her doctor's urging. Quote, I was thinking it was nonsense and was never going to work, says Miss Cutler, 44, who had smoked for 25 years. Her first hypnosis session, which took place in person with a clinician, was so anxiety-producing that she had to have a cigarette afterward. Yeah. Reverie Health, one of a new generation of hypnosis programs and apps that make the practice easily accessible at home, then required her to take part in interactive self-hypnosis sessions at home for a month. After 2 of the digital sessions, she was shocked to discover that she no longer felt like smoking. The craving was really gone. She says, I can't explain it. It doesn't make sense. This hypnosis is some crazy-ass voodoo, and I mean that in a good way. Now, I apologize for bringing this story to you from wallstreetjournal.com, because you have to subscribe. No, screw that. But I hope just talking about this for a few minutes is enough to motivate you to see how this technology can be applied to better, to improve your life. And honestly, for me, it's just that I haven't been consistent with it. And, I got 2 weeks off in Hawaii coming up. Gonna be doing some sleeping in and getting caught up on rest and feeling healthy. And I think I'm gonna get back at least into the sleep apps and meditation apps that are like help you fall asleep stuff. And I won't get too much into the personal stuff, but if Sam and I here and have caught some television with commercials lately, I'll just say. And one of them is for an app, Calm. And I really love these commercials, especially good for people. When you think about like the average manic American, these commercials are so cool and so powerful. It's like rain falling on leaves, and it just says, do nothing for 30 seconds. And you stare at the screen and go, okay, I'll do nothing for 30 seconds. And yeah, stay there and then just see the digital fireplace on the screen. Yeah, good call, CJ. So there, Calm is one app. I have a few different meditation apps. I don't, maybe if there's more interest in this from the audience, when we get back from this break, we'll do a little review. So if anybody wants to share comments, links to apps that they like on that theme, please put those in the comments. We have Mercedes checking those out. But before we get to the comments, couple sort of related stories. I guess a little bit out of order here, but France24.com, dating apps don't destroy love, Swiss study shows. Contrary to warnings, the dating apps are encouraging superficial and short-lived flings over true romance. A Swiss study showed Wednesday that app users were more likely to be seeking long-term relationships. It's Tinder. Tinder is ruining love and romance for the whole world. No, but the quote here from report author Gina Potarka, a researcher at the UNIG's, the Institute for Demography and Socioeconomics, said, quote, large parts of the media claim they have a negative impact on the quality of relationships since they render people incapable of investing in an exclusive or long-term relationship. Up to now, though, there's been no evidence to prove this is the case. And I think this is kind of a cool story. Of course, this is always, all the links are going to be in this description wherever you're listening or watching this. So this study analyzed responses from over 3,000 people who were in a relationship and had met their partner in the past decade. Her analysis showed that couples who met through an app were more motivated by the idea of living together than others. I mean, there are a lot of complicated things about this, and I mean, we could do an episode on nothing but the internet's effect on love and sex and romance and relationships and all of those things. But the reason I think this is a cool example of human progress, cutting edge of good news, is that there are a lot of mythologies that come about because they sort of seem logical, and then they end up becoming accepted as common knowledge, even though they might be incorrect. And this is a case of this mythology coming about that dating apps are bad for relationships being refuted. And you could probably play devil's advocate against this study and say, well, we could still find a way that it's bad like this. I don't really care. But obviously the bigger social mythology of like dating apps are destroying romance. No, false narrative. And you know what? Even the author here, being subtle about it, calls out the media and says, large parts of the media claim, and they get away with this shit. And we should have a higher standard of integrity for people who we trust with our time and attention and our motivation. Next one, studyfinds.org. What happens to our consciousness when we fall asleep? Study may solve one of the biggest scientific mysteries. Where do our brains go when we fall asleep? A super network in the center of the brain could help solve one of the biggest scientific mysteries. How does human consciousness work? Scientists in Finland have discovered a central core network brimming with the same activity, regardless of whether a person goes to sleep normally or loses consciousness due to anesthesia. Researchers from the University of Turku conducted 2 experiments that revealed for the first time the natural mechanisms behind human consciousness and its connection to how people respond during sleep. One study examined brain activity of people being medically anesthetized, while the other looked at how the subjects responded as they slept naturally and after they woke up. Along with using brain imaging technology, researchers also asked participants a series of questions when they woke up. So anyway, fun study, and I think that's all we're going to get into now, so we can check back in with Mercedes in the comments. Although I will tease ahead, we have one other really cool story that I want to take my time with for the human optimization part of the cutting edge about meditation and narcissism. So Mercedes, now that you're dying to hear that story,
Yeah.
anything more interesting from the comments?
Yeah. So as you and I enjoy meditation, so do our people that watch us, because Craig said that he uses the Strava app for exercise and insight timer for meditation.
Yeah, by the way, I'm gonna write this down, because hey, check this out. Over the next I'm gonna make a list for myself, and maybe Sam will want to give some feedback as well. But Strava, I'll check that out. I haven't
I'm gonna
used
see what
Calm.
ones I use. I don't know if I.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's that one I have on? Yeah.
What was I using? See, I stopped using my phone for meditation app. Actually,
You need notifications.
I don't need any more notifications. I'm trying to get off
No, you need like the Calm note. Like, so this the Calm app that I mentioned that was on the TV here.
Yeah. I've used that.
Like imagine, like for me, it would probably be more annoying than useful for like every 30 minutes, do nothing for 30-second thing pops up, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna
Well,
stare at my phone
I
as it
also
does
have
this
an
little thing.
Apple
Hold on.
Watch.
Well, hold on, but like, you know, for someone who's maybe experiencing some kind of like anxiety or seizure disorder, where that breaks a pattern in their brain, and they're able, I mean, just yeah, the potential is like, I think that we're still just starting to realize it, and there's so much
Yeah.
we can do with apps, with flashing data at our eyes and in our ears, whatever it is, that can re-engineer our brains
Yes.
for so much better.
But also, what I also didn't get to add is I used to use the apps for
Which
that
one?
breakup and the
Calm.
anxiety. Yeah.
Sam
So
says she tried Calm and didn't like it.
I didn't like it. No, I didn't like
Yeah.
that interact. But I have an Apple Watch, and that Apple Watch will have like a breathe setting, so it'll interrupt you. It'll like, it monitors your heart rate, and so if it senses that you're getting anxious, it'll make you it'll vibrate. My watch will vibrate on me, and it'll say you need to take a second, breathe with the app, and then you go on your way. Which is also kind of creepy because tech is monitoring my vitals and storing the information because I have an Apple. So like as a redneck, because we're in winter now, so I'm back into my privacy mode. I don't like that that's being stored, but it's helpful because when my anxiety is bad, because I suffer from generalized anxiety, I've had EDMR treatment, which is light and vibrations to reprogram the trigger event, whatever. It's therapy. It's great. I recommend it to everybody. But so yeah, those Calm apps and stuff I've used, but because of the therapy I've undergone now I am more aware, self-awareness. I'm more aware of what I'm taking in because of my brain structure and how I am. Which is what we all hope to be aware of, because we all start somewhere, which is with meditation apps. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Well, I think as these develop, you know, I think it's a really important thing that we all support this. And even if like Sam had a bad experience with Calm, and it's like, and I've had good and bad and just kind of meh experiences with apps in this genre of we call it brain reprogramming.
Yeah.
Is that fair? I mean,
that is what you are doing, though. You are reprogramming your train of thought from mainstream to inner meditative calm. But I've also been meditating my entire life, so I am a horrible. It's hard for me to come back to base level sometimes where other people are. I'm a professional. I'm sorry.
Well, so I think these apps are going to and it's just a matter of experimentation and launching them and getting them out there and getting feedback. And these programs, like, by the way, my undergraduate degree is in psychology, and one of the things that I would have done aside from joining the Marines or being a cop or political activism was I really wanted to get into social psychology and social psychology experiments, because there's so much you can do about understanding brain function without ever getting wet, without ever touching blood, right? That you can. There's so many practical things for us in examining the functionality of the human brain. And in terms of like that last story we talked about with dating apps, even for so many things that we think of in this realm, it's just assumptions and common knowledge and social mythology that's incorrect, that's always being modified and improved on through science. And just, like the Stanford prison experiments and the Milgram obedience studies. I mean, those are two big ones that the libertarians like to cite for obvious reasons. But there's so many more, and there's so many other things that I would have loved to do. Like if I had the budget, so just all right, everybody come in here and stand on your head for 5 seconds and see how that affects your ability to spell words. There's like so many things that just haven't been done in a systematic way that we're capable of now, and we're capable of understanding and sharing with each other, and then applying to optimize the human experience. And it's like, there's an app for that, and who knows what it's going to be. It might, and I'm really glad you mentioned the biofeedback element of this with, and just the simple, obvious example that we have today of, yeah, you can put on a bracelet that monitors your heart rate.
Oh yeah.
Duh.
I love
And your temperature.
oh
You know.
well, I don't know if mine takes my temperature. I think it's just
Well,
heart rate.
my point is that this is common technology that we understand and accept, and we go, oh shit, we could just design an app to make these technologies work together, and all of a sudden I get, because there's so many people who have like negative thought or behavioral patterns that are precipitated by biomarkers, you know, that if you're, and I just think just off the top of my head, you know, like if say you have like explosive anger, violent issues or something
Well, and that's
like
an
that.
environmental.
But every time, but it's episodic. It's not like you're just an angry person. Like you have episodes and they flare up and your brain goes into this pattern. But 5 minutes before you lose control, your heart rate starts going up. Imagine if there was an app to just be like, hey dude, your heart rate's going up. You might want to step back and take a breath.
It's
Like
almost
just
like it tells you
holy
to
shit, that could
breathe.
change the world. You know,
No,
everybody had that.
I was wearing at the beginning of 2020, since we're at the beginning of the new year now. I almost said at the beginning of the year. I would wear my bracelet while I was doing political stuff, and I definitely tracked a pattern in when it told me to breathe and politics. So
Hold on, CJ, roll audio on this.
oh,
Hang on a second. This one. This one. No.
Come on.
I don't know what that was.
That was a scene from Idiocracy.
Oh
where
yeah, I've never.
the biosensors, the guy, not sure, president, not sure, soon to be president, not sure, is going through the hospital, and they give him all the different probes. And they go, here, this one goes in your butt, this one goes in your ear, this one goes in your mouth. Wait, no, this one goes in your mouth, this one goes in your, no, wait, this, and he's like mixing them up, and then all right, sorry,
I've never
Mercedes,
seen
back to you.
Idiocracy. I'm sorry, I just don't watch a lot of TV. So yeah, sorry, CJ. I'm sorry. I don't watch. I do things like makethemdebate.com and
You got the whole
Politics.
Mercedes. I'll say this for
Author.
everybody in the audience. No. If you have not seen Idiocracy, that is a libertarian must watch.
yeah, my
Like,
mom.
The Matrix and
my mom-
Idiocracy, same level,
My mom's
but
been
it's way more fun.
nagging me to watch Idiocracy for the last few years, like the entire Trump presidency. She's like, you need to watch Idiocracy. Like, you need to do it. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to. If you say it's happening right now, I'm just gonna live it. Thanks.
All right, well,
Yeah,
Mercedes.
that's for the comments. That's
All right,
it.
so we got. Yeah, I guess it's early on New Year's Day. Our live audience is going to be a little diminished. But for
They're
everybody
starting
watching
to
this in
come in now,
post production, this is your hangover cure in a podcast form. So let's get we'll get to our next our this is our last human optimization story. And I was thinking about Mercedes and what she said about, you know, the ego trip and that she experiences with meditation. And this headline is from the Daily Mail. The path to enlightenment is an ego trip. Meditation and mindfulness linked to narcissism and feelings of spiritual superiority, study finds. It's like, yeah, I stop to meditate and I think about how much better I am than everybody else. And then I come back and I stop meditating and I go, yeah, I'm better than everybody else. Like, yeah, like I've never really experienced that. But I guess I can't deny that, like, I've seen it. Certainly, like in the yoga, spiritual meditation community, I dabble in. But I also can't deny that I've experienced this in a way, like when I'm in a regular meditation habit, and it kind of goes on and off. And I do, like, part of my meditation is and I encourage everybody to take this more flexible and open attitude towards meditation, is that and meditation, you know, people define it differently, but for me, just taking a deliberate time to turn your attention inward and focus on stillness of the mind. Doesn't necessarily mean clear the mind. I think that's a specific meditation technique, or focus on one thing, but anything where you take that time to significantly slow down the mind and focus, and in some ways turn the attention inward. Every time I go to the gym, my stretching warm up starts with a basic yoga routine, and for me, that's a kind of body connection meditation that I really enjoy. But yeah, when I am in a regular meditation habit, and there have been times that I maybe over our honeymoon I'll get back into some more healthy habits like this. But I was part of my morning routine. I would do with an app a little 10-minute meditation, just sit and listen to someone talk through a meditation, and that was very effective for me. And you come out of it going, I feel centered, I feel calm, I feel at peace, I feel happy, I feel content. And you can get all of this. This is a sort of like runner's high effect of meditating. I also combined it with, I would meditate and then go run and then go work out, or then go lift. But I you can't help but then want to share that with other people. And I am a bit of I think I'm unfortunately more of a yoga evangelist than a meditation evangelist. But when you get something good out of a practice like that, I guess I'm more of a fitness evangelist overall. But when you have something in your life that brings you joy and spiritual value, you want to share it with other people, because you want to live in a world where everybody has that, right? And so I've got come out of that meditation and then been struck by interactions with people who don't have that at all in their lives, clearly, and are walking around with tension and angst and all the sort of negative vibes that you can have built and bunched up in your shoulder muscles and all of that. And I go, wow, that sucks. At least I don't have that. And I'd like to think there's no overall value judgment on the person, but I gotta say, there is a kind of like, I have experienced that sense of spiritual superiority, but it's not spiritual. It's just a sort of state of mind, of psychological composition, and recognizing that. But this story, this study gets into this a little deeper, and here's where it's I guess, can we call this toxic spirituality? Toxic new age hippiness? The study finds a link between those engaged in spiritual practices and superiority. Here's the interesting part. People engaged in energetic therapies like aura reading were the most smug. Now, smugness is where we cross into that area of toxic spirituality. So aura reading, energetic therapies, snake oil bullshit, superstition. If you're willing to abandon science and logic and reason for whatever mythology that you want to believe, it becomes a lot easier to indulge your negative and unhealthy psychological inclinations, such as looking down on other people. Outward comparison theory is relevant here when it comes to groups as well, and within the spiritual community. Oh, do you do tarot cards? Do you do Reiki? It's like, oh, you're one of those. Oh yeah, and and if you hadn't noticed, there's a smugness around a lot of that. Spiritual training has the paradoxical effect of boosting superiority feelings. Well, I would say that's if spirituality done wrong. Spirituality should not be something that you have to grapple with as in contradiction to your experience, to your observations of reality. It doesn't have to exist in a separate realm. And I think the spirituality done right actually leads to that ideal kind of ego death, that sense of oneness in the universe where the distinctions and the value judgments between human beings are irrelevant. But I guess a lot of people, in the name of pursuing that kind of spiritual enlightenment, are sidetracked along the way by their own wishful thinking, mythologies, and pseudoscience. Dutch experts studying questionnaires of nearly 4,000 people found a link between practicing spiritual training like meditation and feelings of spiritual superiority. They found that those who were engaged in the more bizarre energetic therapy, such as aura reading, were the most smug. Forms of spiritual training, including mindfulness, meditation, self-healing, and reading auras, are supposed to distance people from their ego and any feelings of self-worth. But spiritual training appears to actually have the opposite effect by enhancing people's need to feel more successful, more respected, or loved. Spiritual training, this from the authors, from Radboud University in Nijmegen, Netherlands. Spiritual training is assumed to reduce self-enhancement, but may have the paradoxical effect of boosting superiority feelings. It can thus operate like other self-enhancement tools and contribute to a contingent self-worth that depends on one's spiritual accomplishments. Self-enhancement motive is powerful and deeply ingrained so that it can hijack methods intended to transcend the ego and instead adopt them to its own service. And what's really interesting about this study is not that it points out this reality, but that it starts to measure it and quantify it. And I think the next step in the scientific examination, I would hope, of how humans do spirituality and these various practices, that we go, what works and what doesn't. Now, there's a sidebar here, because Daily Mail likes these. CJ, if you'd scroll down to the orange text in what looks like a pale green box here, NHS advertises 24,000-pound Reiki therapist to provide spiritual healing to cancer in acutely unwell patients. Yeah. In August, the NHS, that's the National Health Service in England, advertised for a $24,000 a year Reiki therapist to provide spiritual healing to cancer and acutely unwell patients at a hospital in England. Now, the funny thing about this is, like, even if this is completely psychosomatic as a matter of therapy, I can't argue with it. I don't want to be against Reiki, for people who like get something out of it. It's better than watching TV. It's better than sitting on the couch, and it's better than staying in a mindless state. But this is Reiki healers claim to channel energy and heal people through their palms, while also helping people to relax and alleviate stress. Cancer Research UK says Reiki can help people suffering from cancer to relax, but there's no scientific evidence that holistic energy healing can cure it. Now, this bigger concept, I think spirituality, meditation, like the way that this study and this article looks at this is like a body of things and goes, look, it's turning people into smug pricks. Stop it. I think that's not certainly they didn't say that. I'm misquoting them, right? But yeah, so how do you see auras? CJ is having fun with the visuals on this one, but the exploration of what works, and again, along with the general approach that I take is, experiment and see what works for you, and along with the concept of mindfulness, it's funny to get into a mindfulness kind of exercise that causes you to be less mindful of certain things. And it's all about where you direct your time and your energy and your attention. And if you're always thinking about Reiki or tarot cards or astrology or whatever it is, then your attention is being taken from something else. So never lose that bigger picture sense for yourself, that mindfulness of, what are my habits having as an effect on me? And is it making you more smug? Well, if you're into energetic therapies like aura reading, according to this study, you might want to ask that question very carefully. Now we go into our tech innovation block. Maybe not a big one for people on. Oh wait, we have some producers club notes. Let's see. Oh, Matt's ready to call it. All right, so before we get to our tech block and Coca-Cola and Carlsberg switching to plant-based bottles that break down, as in biodegrade within a year, we're going to go to Matt first. Matt Baxley joins us. We have Matt ready to go. All right, so Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, sir.
You wanted to talk about your journey of finding and being rejected by your biological father and how it helped you find yourself in 2020. Damn, that's some cutting edge of good news, heavy shit I wasn't expecting today, but thanks for sharing this. What's the story, Matt?
Seemed kind of on topic. So basically I was adopted and, you know, obviously never knew who my biological parents were. And several years back before me and my wife got married, she really wanted to do that 23andMe, you know, genetic test or whatever, just to make sure we weren't like related somehow. So, right. Not that it mattered at that point, but, so fast forward a few years, it was like right around Thanksgiving of 2019, I got a message on there from my first cousin, which was pretty cool, you know, so we had some chats and, you know, he kind of narrowed it down and was like, yeah, you know, there's no female on this side of my family. So, you know, one of my uncles was your father. And we kind of played the time game and he narrowed it down and was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy's your dad, you know, and so we talked a few times. Yeah, we talked a few times and he basically was like, I'm not going to just set them up for it. You know, he's like, I'm going to buy everybody 23andMe kits, let them fill it out themselves and make that discovery on their own instead of just coming to them and being like, hey, by the way, uncle, you know, you got a son out there. And so then I was kind of excited, you know, not like, you know, being adopted is you kind of always wonder what your biological family was, but I never really thought that it, you know, had much of an effect on who I was until then. And then I start thinking, I'm like, well, wow, maybe I'll really figure something out about myself.
What was your childhood experience?
I was adopted from Lincoln, Nebraska by my parents were from South Carolina working in Omaha at the time, and they adopted me through Nebraska Children's Home. Moved back to South Carolina and grew up there and everything. But my dad left when I was about 11 or so. So, you know, I was a punk skateboarder, pot smoker, you know, just kind of a bad kid. But I had a good house life. I mean, you know, I can't really say anything.
So general
terrible.
Success, middle America
Yeah,
adoption.
yeah. Middle class, you know, never struggled or anything like that. So just regular suburban American, I guess.
So then what is it? It was your cousin who contacted you on 23andMe, then started going, hey, let's get everybody these tests.
Yeah. And so that's basically was like, hey, everybody's getting these tests for Christmas, and you know, hopefully we'll hear something from you soon. And a month or so later, you know, I reached out to him, and he's like, yeah, still waiting on results or whatever. You know, let's see. And then a month later, sent him another message, nothing. Never heard anything else back from him at all. Like every message just, you know, disappears. Never heard anything else at all. So it's like I have that. Like, hey, you know, I might actually get to talk to who my biological father was, and, you know, kind of building up for that. And then it's like, well, apparently they don't want anything to do with me. So like back to square one. And it kind of made me realize that didn't really matter at all. Like you kind of, I think you kind of have the free will to decide who you're going to be, and your parents and your family. It only has as much effect on who you are as you let it. And it's been a really great year for me as far as mental health goes. You know, it's like kind of have a grasp on my individuality, and I think it's made me a lot better. And it's been a good year. You know, it's got me more active, more engaged in the Libertarian Party instead of just being like, yeah, fuck the government, I'll vote for Gary Johnson. This year it's like, yeah, okay, let's actually start doing something and try to, you know, provide positivity for other people's lives, and, you know, try to actually get off the couch and do something instead of just sitting back. So
That's
really unique year for me.
Yeah, no, beautiful attitude and perspective on that personal story. I mean, there's so much fascination in this, like that I like. Questions that I know are kind of unanswered.
Yeah, a lot to drop on you, but I thought it, kind of went along with the spirituality note.
No, absolutely.
Tone of the show.
So yeah. So on that note, I want to ask you, as you said that you have that experience of learning more about yourself, and having a positive immediate impact. It's something that I kind of grapple with, as in, well, no, I mean, I can do whatever I want. My past is irrelevant. Why do I need to study my history? But then I do. I'm not like averse to it, but except with that little weird thought. But I've met some of my extended family even this year, that I hadn't met, and I always seem, and I've gotten into my family history a little bit more than I had in the past with the Kokeshes in Wyoming and other parts of the Midwest before that, and back to Bavaria, and I don't know, is that what's the positive impact that sort of self historical awareness has had for you out of this?
I don't really care about anything other than the choices that I've made and what I do on a day-to-day life. I feel like nothing else, like names don't mean anything, family doesn't mean anything. None of that has any effect on my life. It's just what's in my mind and what I put into the universe. Does that make sense?
So, well, in that sense, it's sort of like an awareness of I guess, seeing the course of human progress from generation to generation, and seeing how we don't have to be bound by habit. I think that's, to me, that's the most important thing. You want to abolish rape and murder and violence in society. Take a second, look back and see how much there is in your family tree. It's there. It's a lot. Like, it's pretty scary how natural all of the evils of human nature have been, and how directly connected we are to them by just a generation or two's removal. And we really do take the present moment for granted, in the sense that it's extremely peaceful. by historical standards, we are living in the most peaceful times in human history. And I think then it sort of reinforces the freedom of choice, right? Is that what you're getting at? That you can say, look at how by individual decisions, human history has changed, because this person decided they wanted to do this, this person decided they wanted to, well, I'm going to decide, knowing all of that, seeing where I've come from, I'm going to decide to do this now.
Yeah. And being from the South, I guess, there's a lot of like those big family lineage, heavy names and, generational, and everybody gets so attached to it. And to me, it's just, who cares that your, great uncle was John Calhoun? Good for you,
Tribalism and superstition go hand in hand.
Right. Yeah. It has, in my opinion, it has only as much impact on your life as you let it have. If you, and I don't know, everybody gets hung up on all this stuff and they think it affects their identity. And it can, if you choose to let it, but it doesn't have to.
So do you play the resolutions game?
The resolutions game?
I do. I
mean, New Year's resolution. No.
No. But you do recognize this arbitrary time period and look back, 2020.
Yeah. And I guess I don't ever make resolutions. I always set goals. Is that the same or different, or you know what I mean?
Well, I would say
you don't break a goal. You break a resolution. You just don't meet your goal. So.
No, I love it, but I would say it's the same game of taking note of the changing of the last digit on the calendar and going, all right, there's another big chunk of time. Let's examine this interval and see what we want to change for the next interval. There is a sort of silly arbitrariness to it that an objectivist might intellectually reject, but that doesn't make it a bad practice. And I think if for you the phrase of setting goals for the new year is a better way to do it, then makes sense. More power to you. So what are your goals?
Shit, why you got to put me on the spot, Adam?
If that's personal, then even better for you.
No, you know, it's just like my goal.
I
It
have
doesn't really
personal goals,
change.
but for my lawyer has advised
Right.
me to not share them publicly.
Right. No, you know, I think my goals, my daily goals, my weekly goals, my monthly goals, my yearly goals are always the same. And it's just do what I think's best for me and, you know, help anybody out. You can help out along the way. You know, I'm always trying to focus on making sure my financials are in order. I'm not doing dumb stuff. You know, I have a nice safety net and me and my wife are happy and our dogs are happy and anything else is just a plus, you know, but my goal is just don't fuck up.
Well, great attitude, Matt. Anything else?
No, man, happy New Year's to everybody. One more trip around the sun. Hopefully we'll make another one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got some producer notes before we jump. No? All right. I was going to say if Jim is with us, we want to do comments. But let's get into our tech block because this is a big fun one. And I think we are going to get through this today. We still remember this is we are just one of 5 blocks into the show now, having covered human optimization, now tech innovation, exploration. We'll get to alien life, I promise, and understanding nature. First, mymodernmet.com has this headline: Coca-Cola and Carlsberg will switch to plant-based bottles that break down within a year. The paper bottle project's prototype recyclable drinkware. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, scientists estimate that 8 million metric tons of plastic, approximately the weight of 90 aircraft carriers, finds its way into the oceans every year. Yeah, that's not the size of the garbage island. That's how much it grows every year. The paper bottle company Baboco wants to help manufacturers and distributors reduce their single-use plastic waste by creating bottles made from degradable plant sugars rather than fossil fuels. Bilderud Korsnas, a paper packaging developer, first started this initiative in 2013. Like, did I get the time right on this? Yeah, this is not a new story, but it is not back to 2013. This was from May of this year. But the initiative started in 2013 and has been joined by research companies and industry leaders like Avantium and ALPLA. The project proudly announced in October 2019 that Coca-Cola, L'Oreal, and Absolut had joined their efforts. The historic brewery, Carlsberg, has been a longtime partner of the paper bottle project and explained in a press release, quote, "We are working on developing the world's first paper," and that's in quotes there, "beer bottle made from sustainably sourced wood fibers that is both 100% bio-based and fully recyclable." Yeah. Shortly after, the brewing company unveiled its first paper bottle for their Pilsner beer as proof of concept on their social media sites. This is made out of a plant-based polymer called PEF, fully recyclable, completely degraded to base elements within a year. And this they're hoping to have them ready for consumer use by 2023. So like that's where we are with this, which is kind of so technology's been here. So this is the reason I want to tell this story, not just be like, oh look, cool, this is coming and we're gonna stop putting plastic in the oceans, right? I mean that is huge, and I have always in had faith in human innovation in dealing with all the problems that we're creating, even the ones that we're making worse with government. And yes, who's the biggest polluter in the world? The United States military. Yeah, as a singular institution, who's fucking it up for everybody? Who's removing accountability for polluters? It's government. But one way or another, we're going to be able to innovate our way through this, and humanity marches on. So with these bottles, what I don't want to, I want to tell the bigger story or the longer term story, obviously, because it's incredibly encouraging when it seems like right now there's so many times we want to go, fuck, I thought we would have flying cars by now, right? Well, we've had this technology for these kinds of biodegradable bottles to replace plastic. I mean, how ready was it? I don't know, but it's not like some crazy innovation was being waited for. 2013, 8 freaking years ago, and it's still not going to be ready till 2023. So 10-year development process from, hey, we can do this, to, hey, we're doing this. Now, this is a major, large-scale industrial adjustment for humanity, right? To go from all plastic and glass to some chunk of biodegradable bottles. And the pollution of plastic is one that is really swept under the rug for us. There's a giant island of garbage floating around the ocean, plenty of them, islands, I should say. And there are even plans to float around with barges that would collect all the plastic and burn it and take the energy and contain it with no pollution, and use the heat to generate electricity to mine Bitcoin or crypto on barges in the middle of the ocean. The thing is, even that technology, it's all here. It's all here. And if you remember from our interview with Daryl, was it yesterday, day before yesterday, about 151 Farmers and the work that he's doing with cannabis and aquaponics, the real activists are entrepreneurs today. The people who are looking at these technologies and going, look, we can do this. Why the fuck are we not doing this already? Can we do this? Can we build a business around this idea? Can we make it happen? And that's why I want to support not just these giant industrial projects, but all the small ones of people who might be working on these kinds of innovations that we don't even see until it's there. And you go 20 years ago, how you got to really be thinking outside the box when someone goes, hey guys, there's a giant garbage island of plastic floating around the ocean. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to stop this contribution to it? And again, the number at the beginning of this article should be shocking. I mean, it should at least help you understand the scale of this problem. 8 million metric tons of plastic going into the ocean every year, or oceans, excuse me, every single year on this planet. It's crazy. How out of the box do you have to be to go, hey, how about we just make all of our plastics biodegradable, or all of our bottles out of biodegradable materials? Yeah. And I'm sure there's more to this story in terms of industrial resistance, as there is with the the oil and gas industry resisting innovation in alternative energies, just as a matter of business competition. When these are giant entrenched government empowered corporations, they are all the more entrenched and difficult to overthrow, but inevitably will be overthrown by innovation and technology like this eventually, one way or another. Related to this, from CBS News, Japan to eliminate gas-powered cars as part of green growth plan. Now, a lot of problems with government having a role in any of this, obviously, but we can still celebrate the progress and the fact that this is even something that's possible. Japan aims to eliminate gasoline-powered vehicles in about 15 years, the government said Friday, in a plan to achieve Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga's ambitious plan to go carbon-free by 2050 and generate nearly $2 trillion of growth in green business and investment. So just fun point to celebrate. From phys.org, not a website we see on the show very often, Korean artificial sun sets the new world record of 20-second long operation at 100 million degrees. And this, I don't have any thought or analysis. I just want to go yeah, what is going on here? Korean artificial sun K-Star sets the new world record of 20-second long operation at 100 million degrees Celsius. Or is it Fahrenheit? I don't know. I don't care. Still doesn't mean anything to me. The Korea Superconducting Tokamak Advanced Research, that's K-Star, a superconducting fusion device, also known as the Korean artificial sun, set the new world record as it succeeded in maintaining the high temperature plasma for 20 seconds with an ion temperature of over 100 million degrees Celsius. Now, I wonder if the dudes working at this are like, yeah, hey man, we just set a world record for high temperature plasma. Yeah, it's a very competitive record that, don't think it's working that way. On November 24, the K-Star Research Center at the Korean Institute of Fusion Energy announced that in a joint research with the Seoul National University and Columbia University of the United States, it succeeded in continuous operation of plasma for 20 seconds with an ion temperature higher than 100 million degrees, which is one of the core conditions of nuclear fusion in the 2020 K-Star plasma campaign. It is an achievement to extend the 8-second plasma operation time during the 2019 campaign. So to recreate fusion reactions that occur in the sun on Earth, hydrogen isotopes must be placed inside a fusion device like K-Star to create a plasma state where ions and electrons are separated, and ions must be heated and maintained at high temperature. So far, there have been other fusion devices that have briefly managed plasma at temperatures of 100 million degrees or higher. None of them broke the barrier of maintaining that for more than 10 seconds. So with all technologies, cheaper, faster, smaller, smarter over time, who knows where this is going? A lot of possibilities for energy generation, for who knows? Well, maybe you're going to be able to take this high temperature plasma and I don't know, put it in rocket boots or something like that. But yeah, this is really cutting edge stuff. I'm just kind of at a loss. Like, yeah, we can do that. Similarly, my reaction to this next story, just celebratory from Yahoo.com, actually Agence France Presse, via Yahoo.com. Wind powers more than half of UK electricity for first time. Yeah. I'm sure they're doing it horribly in a corporatist framework, but still, good for you. This is actually a significant achievement. Wind power accounted for more than half of Britain's daily generated electricity on Saturday in the wake of Storm Bella, according to energy giant Drax. The percentage of wind power in the country's energy mix hit a record 50.67% on Saturday, the company said over the weekend, beating the previous record of 50% in August. And just pushing out, like there is a unique phenomenon of the modern fossil fuel industry that has done incredible things for humanity. I'm not going to pretend to deny that, but has now become an entrenched rent-seeking product of fascist corporatism that is holding back human progress in a lot of really critical ways. And it's only when the innovation kind of forces us past that paradigm that we're going to get this, and it's going to happen because of this. It's like we've got all this delayed, suppressed advancement that's going to be coming up a lot faster, especially as governments and the corporatocracy and the banking system kind of lose their grip, so to speak. And there are more and more technologies like this that are just able to push through. So now the next couple headlines might seem like bad news, but I'm going to try to show you that the silver lining is actually bigger than the cloud. If you look at the whole thing, the Daily Star, Army to deploy autonomous bug drones that spy on enemies more than a mile away. British Army is taking a delivery of 30 of the tiny all-weather machines weighing just 196 grams each. It's a few ounces, and it is hoped they will prove useful in tactical missions. Yeah. 40-minute battery life. They can go 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles away. They weigh about the same as the iPhone 12 Pro MX. I had to compare it to that specific model, of course. Now, this technology isn't anything particularly new, but the application of it for this, and the Army, British Army in this case, putting the money into the development of this, and who knows, maybe you could look at this in the bigger development of drone technology and say, this is dumb. This is insignificant. This is the government spending way too much for way too little for some military contractor to take some out-of-the-box retail spy copter drone, paint it green, and charge the government 10 times as much as they paid for it. It could be something like that, but even the deployment and the development of this technology, while we see it here being used for government surveillance and violation of privacy, this is not right. This is wrong. This is here now officially a tool for evil. This is a tool not to make the world better or safer. This is the way that this is being used is by the government is not righteous, to say the least. But what this makes possible for people using this technology for the right reasons, to actually protect people rather than to protect government interests and to promote war and conflict and violate your rights as an individual citizen, this technology is going to be, like many, a double-edged sword. Yes, it will empower government, but it cuts both ways. I believe it's a curved blade that cuts more to the way of the people. And so in countering this, there's so many possibilities that we have. I mean, imagine if we had the technology to covertly just put drones in the sky to say, follow around every cop while they're on duty in the streets. Hey, your body cam failed. Don't worry, we've got the drone backup footage, officer, to show how you violated that person's rights. And it's, the body cams on cops are for the protection of officers and citizens alike. And similarly, having this technology deployed by citizen watch groups and having the technology developed to be able to be used defensively as well, I think is going to usher in a new era of the human experience with drones. Of course, the major thing is in retail, the delivery, that you're going to be able to go on Amazon and have basically anything that you want just drop out of the sky into your hands within who knows how long, however fast the drones can get from the warehouse to your place or wherever you happen to be, who knows. But the development of this technology is at the point where government is putting money into it. And maybe they don't realize, in a sense, they are sowing the seeds of their own demise, as the development of technology today really can't be kept from the people for very long. One of the fundamental dynamics of technology itself, not only is that it gets cheaper, faster, smaller, better over time, but also distributed faster. You think about the printing press. It took how many years for books to become an ubiquitous part of the human experience, to the automobile, to being widely available, several decades at least, to the cell phone, and how long did it take for us to go from dumb phones to smartphones? Overnight, historically speaking. And with the government putting this money into drone technology that is going to be available, whether they like it or not, for civilian application, it really is going to render government obsolete when the people are able to use this technology to meet human needs instead of protect government interests. Similarly, we got this story from Mercedes today, and it was like, what's the positive part of this? The Washington Post headline: Microsoft says Russians hacked its network viewing source code. Yeah. Russian government hackers engaged in a sweeping series of breaches of government and private sector networks have been able to penetrate deeper into Microsoft's systems than previously known, gaining access to potentially valuable source code, the tech giant said Thursday. Now, how did this happen? The firm previously acknowledged that it had inadvertently downloaded a software patch used by Russian cyber spies as a potential backdoor into victim systems, but it was not known that the hackers had viewed the firm's source code or the crucial DNA of potentially valuable proprietary software. So the basic positive spin on this is Microsoft versus the Russian government. They're going at it now. Well, I hope they beat the shit out of each other. Both institute, the government of Russia and Microsoft as a corporation. I don't want to say Microsoft shouldn't exist, but it shouldn't be the corporate monstrosity that it is. That's the product of government corporatism and Bill Gates profiteering from all those policies. But there's also in a tech sense, man, get Mitt Romney out. We don't need to hear Mitt Romney talking about the Russia hack. Come on, CJ. No, but the bigger thing that I want to point out to take away from this is that where we're at with technology interests, sort of, what did the Daily Beast say about the Proud Boys? Oh, the snake eating its own tail. there's also a sort of inherent drive within technological progress towards decentralization and things being open sourced. And so the more that that source code is just out there, leaked, shared, whatever, the more connected we are. In some ways, it becomes harder to sequester data, and that's a good thing overall. Not that I'm against privacy or anything. Now, to end this little tech innovation block today, before we get to exploration and aliens and understanding nature to wrap up the show, really just beautiful, straightforward, positive news story from goodnewsnetwork.org. Boys make $250,000 from genius Christmas invention and donate thousands to animal shelters. Now, pair of 12-year-olds, brothers Ayan and Mickey Nakvi, who live in Shelton, Connecticut, were decorating their Christmas tree, and one of their ornaments was broken, and they decided that they needed a better way to properly secure ornaments. As I was reading this, I was kind of like, well, are you going to come up with a way to not have any breakable ornament? Why not just make breakable ornaments not a thing anymore? Like, they don't. Why do we do that? They don't have to be. But no. So what they did is they created a loop and toggle system and did it for a school project, and then they decided to turn this into to get a patent. And I of course, there are sort of problems with this about the idea of patents as opposed to being open source. By the way, the previous gadget that the pair created got them on an episode of Shark Tank. So that I'm really grateful that this is something that still exists, that kids can be innovators and inventors and do stuff like this. And the takeaway from this is that even something as simple as ornaments, there's so many things and there's so many technologies that are lagging in their full implementation. I mean, even just the creation of metal wire itself. Well, now we have this. That's hilarious. The video with Santa's butt knocking an ornament off the tree. Yeah, thanks for showing that, CJ. I missed that in the story. But on the theme of human progress and innovation, you don't need a lab. You don't need $1 million. You don't need anything fancy to say I'm going to come up with something that makes life better for everyone. So it's a great example of that. Do we have Jim with us now? I want to get comment Jim Freedom up here, and if not, is Mercedes still on comment duty? I thought Jim was joining us.
I am here. I haven't talked, but I am here. She's playing with my printer. It's great fun.
All right.
Yeah. So for comments, we have quite a few. From the Reiki. Hold on, let me get back up. Yeah, from the Reiki massage. We had some people talk about that. Sorry, I'm going to pull her real quick. Thank you, Cora. She just closed the door for me. She's the greatest assistant in history. We're still training her, so. Yeah, that's my printer, baby. So as far as comments go, Miss Prepper says that there is studies that show that New Age meditation is actually negatively affecting people's lives. Things like yoga and people becoming more depressed the longer they do it. And that's a good observation.
Leave that one up.
I think that's based off of people. How do I put this? Having just a little bit of knowledge is sometimes as dangerous as not knowing anything at all.
If it's the wrong snippet of knowledge,
yes, and
out of context.
Yeah, and back to the ego and narcissism and meditation and stuff. That also feeds into the thank you, Cora. That if you don't have a good foundation of knowledge on what you're doing, and you're like,
uh-oh.
What? Are you okay? Did you hurt yourself?
You got a live toddler disaster on here.
It's okay, sweetheart.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. She hurt. It's nap time. She got up at 5 this morning. New year, new us. Up at 5.
Yeah. Funny how being tired can make you more sensitive to pain.
Yeah, she's a ginger too, so she's extra.
Are
but-
you saying that because she doesn't have a soul, she's more pain sensitive?
No,
That is
no,
so racist of you,
No, I'm
Mercedes.
saying that being a ginger, that means she has all of the souls, which means that she's extra sensitive. But
CJ
yeah, but-
needed a way in here.
Yeah, I've been having some.
aliens.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we're gonna get to aliens today. We'll see.
Oh, we will.
Well, we got Nick Berryhill backstage.
Yeah,
and
that's
for
a
some
thing.
reason
All right,
my
all right.
computer
All right.
crashed, so I'm having to reboot some things. So
Okay,
give me a-
so hold
Crying
on.
babies, crashing
CJ,
computers.
stay on. You know, I want to get and put that comment back up. I want to cover this is an important subject here, but
Yeah.
also CJ, the next story I want you on for real quick, and then we'll get to Nick, and then we'll blaze through the rest here. Miss Prepper, there are studies that show New Age meditation is actually negatively affecting people's lives. Now, that's Miss Prepper. While I greatly appreciate the comment and what you're pointing out here, the lack of citation is weighing on me because I'm like, okay, well, what New Age meditation? You just put it in quotes, you know, and this is exactly in line with what I was saying with that story is that it's understanding, you know, we've got all these practices now, you know, that a lot of things we just assume are good that we haven't critically or scientifically examined, and I want that to happen. But now I do kind of resent you in that uncited space saying things like yoga and people becoming more depressed the longer they do it. I think there are certainly ways you can do yoga wrong. Like if you're Bikram and you're sexually assaulting your students, that might be a way of yoga that might be yoga having some negative effects on people the longer they do it. But overall, you know, I think that the body of evidence behind the strength of yoga really is unquestionable about the general positive effects of yoga. Now, specific things, other New Age practices, other specific types of yoga, yeah, and I want to see that. I hope, and if anybody else wants, hey, email them to me, send them to the Producers Club, adam@thefreedomline.com. This is something I'm going to be geeking out on over the next 2 weeks, along with my meditation and hypnosis apps. So in terms of evaluating, you know, things that people think are healthy within, you know, New Age meditation, I'm all for it. You know, send me those citations, please, Miss Prepper. CJ?
Dang it, I'm muted again. No, my computer had a crash there, so I got everything back to load it up. Whatever you want to do with, you know, if you want to go to a segment or if you want to go to Nick, up to you.
Well, so while I got you though, CJ, this story, I think this was one that you shared, the full body teleportation system patent. Is that you?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I did I share this one?
I think you were you the one who put this in the Producers Club?
I don't know. I mean,
Or did you put the one that was the patent for the coronavirus treatment?
yeah, coronavirus treatment. I don't know. I put the coronavirus treatment one in there.
Jim's not back yet, is he? Not in time today?
No,
All
he's
right.
not back today.
Well,
No.
we're going to come back to this. So we're going to talk to Nick Berryhill now, and then when we come back, we're going to do aliens. And well, see, I thought that was an alien story, but no, we do have we have the aliens, and then a little understanding.
We can get into U.S. patent number 20060071122A1. I'm sure the audience would love it.
Well, I think I'm going to tease it. Brief summary of the invention. This invention is a system that teleports a human being through hyperspace from one location to another using a pulsed gravitational wave traveling through hyperspace. What does this actually mean? I don't know, because I didn't study for the segment, CJ. I was hoping you or Jim would explain why you shared it. I forgot which one of you did. All right, so we're gonna come back to this. Let's get Nick up here while he's waiting. And Nick has some good news and perspective to share with us. Mr. Berryhill, are you there, sir? Is Nick with us? All right. Hey, Nick Berryhill, welcome back to the show. How you doing, brother?
Good. How you guys doing?
Excellent. So I'm excited to take your call today because you have in our Producer Club Bullshitters Anonymous group shared some powerful positivity lately. What you got for us?
Yeah, I was just, as the year wound down and reading articles about, 2020 and how people were saying this was the worst year in history, and hearing you guys talk about, how it wasn't. I think you did a show a couple of weeks back, or maybe you made some comments about that. So I just started thinking about back about my year and some of the goals I had set for myself. I'm not really like a resolution person. I'm more like Matt. Like I set goals. So I'm the type of person, if I write something down, I'm likely to stick to it. So every year, I guess I participate in the tradition and sort of look back and try to think, what did I accomplish this year? What do I want to do next year? And just like, for example, last year, like I used to be an avid reader, read a lot of books, and I kind of got away from that in the past. So I set a goal this year to read 40 books, and I got that done. I read 40 on my list.
Hold on, Nick. Can I ask you to zoom in on just a little part of that story?
Yeah.
How do you think you lost the habit?
A lot of it to me is like, I'll notice I'm on my phone a lot, like scrolling through Twitter, just like mindlessly wasting time, or Facebook, checking out memes. And I'm like, I still do that a lot, but I think I want to be more productive with my time. Like,
so bad habits pushed out good habits.
Yeah. And like one of the topics I like to study about is the Federal Reserve. So I read like 10 books about that this year and sort of enhanced my knowledge about that even more. So it was pretty awesome. And like this year, I want to I don't know much about 3D printers or crypto, so I'm going to start trying to get into that. And we bought a house this year, so I'm going to start with a little garden, hopefully try to get some homesteading going perhaps. So just goals like that, things to look forward to, to improve yourself and sort of stay positive. Keep the TV turned off and keep yourself busy instead of listening to a bunch of bull crap on CNN all the time.
Well said. So for 2020, though, I think you had some other things you wanted to celebrate, to share, that it was a pretty good year for you overall, right?
Yeah. Like, I sell real estate, so I had a lot of downtime in between. Like the real estate's been crazy this year, but I had some downtime in like the spring and things to sort of get some more real estate certifications and sort of enhance my knowledge, like in a professional capacity too, with like things like foreclosures and resorts and second properties, helping buyers and sellers with those markets. So it was a good year, like professionally and personally, just to develop and grow.
So Nick, tapping your perspective on real estate, then we generally anticipated a much more sudden eviction crisis than what is unfolding now, which seems to be just a little more drawn out. What do you see happening with that?
Well, here, it's funny you mentioned that, because I noticed like a lot of the lower end properties in my area of North Carolina, like a lot of those are coming on the market for sale. And it's like the 30, 40, 50,000 price range. And it has you wondering, because it already has tenants intact, and MLS, you have to disclose, that it's under tenancy still and under a lease. So I think a lot of landlords are actually going ahead selling their properties because they're not getting paid any rent, and there's no telling when this is going to end. I think it got extended through January. So it's probably going to get worse before it gets any better. It's for the landlords. I mean, for people right now, I think the moratorium is going to keep getting extended.
So you would explain it being appearing to be drawn out as just sort of the natural institutional mechanics of slowing down any kind of sudden changes in the overall real estate market, which would lead us to maybe banks owning a lot of these residential properties, and the evictions not happening by landlords so much as by banks later, and that there are going to be loopholes and there are going to be all sorts of other manipulations. But the bottom line is, oh shit, the banks own a lot more than they did before this started.
Yep. And that's the purpose of it. Wealth transfer, unfortunately. So, but I mean, still, like outside of the rental market, even like when people are buying and selling properties, I mean, it's crazy right now. Like if I list a house for sale, you got like 5 or 6 people trying to get it, because I guess the money's so cheap, because you got like almost 0% interest rates, and there's more people wanting to buy than there are sell. So it's really a seller's market, and you see a lot of like house values get pushed up. Like the home we bought, it appraised for like 20 grand more than what we got it for. So it's crazy right now.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us and sharing that good news and positive perspective. We're going to go to Jim now, unless you have anything else critical to add, because Jim is the one who shared this full body teleportation system patent story. I kind of want to see what he has to say there. Nick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
Peace and love, brother. All right. So we have Jim. Well, let's get Jim on screen right away here. We only have a few more links we have to sort of jam through and get to aliens, of course. But Let's see. Do we have? Oh, now my screen's frozen. Say who do we have? CJ at the helm of the producers studio seems to be having some technical challenges. Maybe Jim or Mercedes is stepping up at the wheel.
I'm gonna let Jim take over because I have a toddler that I'm tending to now. So it was nice seeing you guys. I love you. I'll be backstage hiding now.
Mwah. All right,
What did I
Mr.
walk
Freedom.
into?
Morning, brother.
What's going on?
You're the one who shared the full body teleportation link, right?
No.
No. Who did that? Who was I? Because I didn't find this one on my own. Somebody posted in the Producers Club the link to the patent.
I would definitely remember sharing that, and that wasn't me. That would be pretty
All
cool.
right. I'm gonna have to come back to this then, and this will be our next cutting edge of good news episode, like 3 weeks from now. Yeah, don't worry. But there is a patent and links in the notes if you want to do your research on this your own. Yes, a full body teleportation system consisting of generating a pulsed gravitational wave which propagates through a magnetic vortex wormhole generator. Yeah. Duh.
I like Craig's
All
idea.
Craig, can we teleport DC to another dimension? No, but you know what? We could have like a giant blender that like turns human beings into like human smoothies, and we could tell politicians that it's a teleportation device and just sort of drop them in one at a time. That's more. That's going too
I
far.
was
But
gonna say,
yeah.
now you're coming close to CJ's guillotine dreams.
All right. Let's breeze through our headlines, and we'll check back in with Jim and comments here. So CJ, if you would please.
CJ's not back yet.
Oh, do you have the aliens video?
Is it in the Producers Club? Let me look.
I know what you need.
Alien.
Okay, so CJ's computer crashed and it's not turning back on.
Alien
So-
Life? Which one? The
Is it the one that CJ made?
No, hold on.
The patent
No, talk
stuff.
about the video that CJ plays.
Oh,
The
yes, I
segment
know
of
which one that
the
is.
aliens.
I got that one. I know what you're talking about.
All right, let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
Our top story today in the world of alien life comes from complex.com. Study finds our galaxy may be full of dead alien civilizations. And even just considering this from a sort of statistical perspective, by which we sometimes look at this question of, are there aliens out there? Well, there's so many galaxies, and what are the odds that none of them have spawned life as this one has? Pretty low. There got to be. That's if the universe is infinite. At some point, there's got to be a recurring pattern that would lead to the same proteins that are the building blocks of life that will eventually spiral out into intelligent life as we know it today, and that over an infinite period of time, or at least the how many billions, trillions of whatever years old the galaxy is. Well, according to this story, humans are believed to have emerged 13.5 billion years after the Milky Way was formed. So certainly during that time, well, as the article says, a new published study suggests the Milky Way galaxy could contain alien civilizations, though there's a strong possibility most of them are already dead. Yep. And this is from researchers at California Institute of Technology, NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. Santiago High School used an expanded version of the famous Drake equation, which determined the odds of extraterrestrial intelligence existing in our galaxy. The study looked at various factors that could presumably lead to a habitable environment and determined intelligent life may have emerged in our galaxy about 8 billion years after it was formed. Some of these civilizations could have been 13,000 light years from the galactic center, about 12,000 light years closer than Earth. So this study is yet to be peer reviewed, but I don't really care because it's an awesome thought exercise. And the bigger question here, as the study I think acknowledges, quote, while no evidence explicitly suggests that intelligent life will eventually annihilate themselves, we cannot a priori preclude the possibility of self-annihilation. As early as 1961, Herner suggests that the progress of science and technology will inevitably lead to complete destruction and biological degeneration, similar to the proposal by Sagan and Shklovsky in 1966. This is further supported by many previous studies arguing that self-annihilation of humans is highly possible via various scenarios, including but not limited to war, climate change, and the development of biotechnology. Now, I'm all for the awareness and looking at the possibilities by which humanity may self-annihilate, but I think it's less likely than likely that, given the course of history and intelligent life, I'm much, maybe it's my own mythology, maybe it's my own fantasy and wishful thinking to believe that we're going to be 3D printing rocket ships in our backyards pretty soon here and taking over the cosmos. And the idea that the planet becomes inhabitable is not a threat to humanity in the long run, because we will find ways of living in outer space or on other planets, or perhaps with our consciousness uploaded into computers that are not even subject to this. The idea that we are capable of closing this Pandora's box that is intelligent life seems much harder to believe, although incredulity is hardly an argument when we have scientific analysis. But in this case, when we look at answering this question, we don't. We have formulas, hypotheses, calculations, estimates. And it seems to me that at this point, and who knows, maybe we are the freak occurrence in the whole history of the universe and existence. Maybe humanity is that rare, successful moment in the history of everything where the universe became aware of itself, conscious, and was able to create an intelligent life that, who knows, maybe takes us to the universal gray goose scenario, and we all go back inside the black hole only to pop out again the next time we decide to do this. Is that going too far with this, Jim? Dead alien civilizations? It's an interesting possibility to consider, but it leads me to those more, I don't know, spiritually positive, encouraging conclusions.
That's definitely a unique thought. I feel like I'm inclined to think that they're not all dead. I feel like there's bound to be civilizations that have been before us and have already died off. They've already had their time. And there's other civilizations, there's other planets out there that are just in the single-celled organism stage of evolution. You know what I mean? Where they haven't even gotten to humans yet, but they will eventually in the next million years or whatever. You know what I mean? I think that,
right.
Let's put it this way. My spiritual belief is, I think it comes from quantum physics, but anything that you could possibly imagine in your mind at all exists somewhere in ultimate reality, somewhere in the cosmos. Anything you could possibly imagine is in existence somewhere.
Well, it exists in your mind, at least. That's somewhere.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying if it comes into your mind, it came from somewhere else in reality. You know what I mean? You don't
Well,
think so?
no, but the thing that's exciting about this kind of conversation, back to the, are we alone in the universe question, is that you realize all of these great possibilities. It challenges the human mind to think as big as possible. And there's no, we don't, from this question at this point, we don't come to the conclusion, well, therefore there were 3 civilizations before us and then now we're here and hopefully we'll last a little bit longer. No, like, we don't get to say that. We get to say it's possible, but then we just as well get to say it's possible that we're the first. This is it. And that maybe the cycle of existence itself is black hole explodes into the universe until at one point eventually intelligent life forms and then creates the technology that by accident at some point takes over, and it increases the entropy of the universe to collapse back into a black hole, and then it just over and over again, and that's existence for you.
That could be. I've heard a theory like that one time. They called it God's breath. And they said like everything was infinitely one thing, and then it exploded outwards into the universe, and it's continually exploding outwards right now. But at some point, somewhere, it's going to collapse back in on itself and start back over again. So like they call that God's breath. Interesting theory. But again, like you said, it's all just possibilities. There's no way we can definitively prove one way or the other at this point.
And speaking of possibilities, there are so many more stories we cover about aliens right now and the search for extraterrestrial life through radio signals and everything else. But that's our aliens block for the day.
Nice. That's fun. I love aliens. I wish they'd just make themselves known already.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
All right, since we are at time, we're going to breeze through our last headlines and check in with the comments to call it a day here. Cron.com, 2021 could be a huge year for space. Here's what's to come from NASA, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and Jeff Bezos. So link in the description. Cool story with a lot of fun stuff there about what's on that cutting edge. Also, I guess this is our exploration block. Elon Musk says Mars economy will run on cryptocurrency. This from The Independent. SpaceX recently sparked controversy after stating it would not recognize international law in outer space. Yeah. Well, why would you? Now, to just a couple of quick stories in understanding nature. The Sacramento bee, extremely rare, one-of-a-kind flower found in Maui's rugged mountains. Take a look. Botanist, okay, so a new species of flowering plant has been found in Hawaii, and the details have mystified botanists. Botanists tend to walk around mystified most of the time anyway. Only one individual of the new species, named Cyanea heluensis, is currently known from a remote location in West Maui, where we're going to be in tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're flying to Maui. Maybe we'll get to see it. Hawaii's Department of Land and Natural Resources said in December 24 release, while exploring the steep slopes of Helu above Lahaina, botanist Hank Oppenheimer and colleague Jennifer Higashino found a single large plant in the deep shade of a healthy ohia forest. So, yeah, cool story, right? Related to that, from goodnewsnetwork.org, man hasn't been to the grocery store in 8 months thanks to tiny pandemic garden inspired by grandfather. Yeah, another big silver lining of the pandemic. Now, another story we're gonna include here for those of you who want to play the game and mark this changing of the number on the calendar with a certain conscientiousness, be they setting goals or resolutions. The headline from Good News Network: How to be happier in 2021. Toss out your usual list of New Year's resolutions, says study. So, any motivational research would have ambivalent feelings about New Year's resolutions, says Richard Ryan, an international expert on motivational research and professor emeritus of psychology at the University of Rochester. The evidence shows that most of the time people aren't successful at them. But don't throw in the towel quite yet. Ryan, who's also a clinical psychologist, says that any occasion that gives us an opportunity to reflect on our lives is ultimately a good thing. You know, like meditation. It doesn't have to be on New Year's. Whenever that happens, if it's really a reflective change, something that you put your heart behind, that can be good for people. And if you've ever been a regular gym goer and you know about the January rush, you know that that's usually how resolutions work when they're not really grounded in that deeper self-reflection. And yeah, this year, people are getting a lot of that. So with that, let's go back to the comments and comment Jim Freedom here to wrap up today's show before we get to good news and history. Jim, comments, promos. What else we got?
What's going on? Let's see. Elizabeth Coquillard says, we will have enough time. Libertarian Party of Mars.
I would hope that by the time we get to Mars, the idea of a libertarian party will be unnecessary.
Yes. Same person asks, imagine how many masks will be found in the ocean. They've already, I think we just did a story on that, or I was reading something. They were saying there was already a high number of masks they've pulled out of the ocean. So that doesn't.
Yeah. Ooh, I mean, I hate to just to be like, of all the things to be critical of the virus hoax for, oh, they're putting more garbage in the ocean. Not the most compelling argument, but certainly a negative side effect worth noting. I would think, though, that overall consumption of plastic goods is probably going down with the general decrease in human activity and economic activity. So I'm sure there are other trends affecting this one way or another. In 2020, are we putting more or less plastic into the oceans? Obviously, if we're going out and buying less overall, less packaging, less waste. If we're going to grocery stores instead of eating out, or if we're, take out more than cooking at home, a lot of things can affect this. But there probably is a pretty significant chunk of waste coming out of PPE overall, and masks especially, that you go, yeah, I told you there were going to be unintended consequences to wearing masks. And I hope this prediction doesn't come true, but we're going to see like pictures of sea turtles with masks wrapped around their necks. It's just it's probably not going to be that, but at some point you're going to find a picture of PPE Corona garbage negatively impacting wildlife, and that's just one more tragic way that people's obedience is prolonging this nightmare.
True that. All right, one more from Miss Prepper here. She says there are studies that show New Age meditation is actually negative.
Hold on, we did that one, Mercedes. We beat that one to death.
Okay, my bad.
That's a good comment, though. Glad you appreciated that one too.
Welcome
CJ.
back, Mr. CJ, executive producer.
Don't forget to go to AdamVersusTheMan.com. Click the Patreon link. When you're there, you can join for $1, $5, $10, or $50. $10 is really where it's at. That gets you access into the Producers Club. And then from there, we want to help you out. So we give you 15% off at our store if you're a patron there. And that's really, we're not making more than $1, so we can really appreciate your help there at the store. I know there's some people like the fanny pack, some people like the bucket hat, some people want the beach towel. It's a new year, new us, so we want to hope you guys will help us out this year by buying just something there to show your support. So those freedom panties, they took a while to get there, but we finally got them. And who doesn't want a billboard for us on your butt? So in this show, of course, my bad, my apologies. Of course, to cigarfederation.com, where promo code Adam10, ADAM10 gets you 10% off your order. Make sure to check out the JSK Nugs. Those are Adam's favorite CBD infused cigars. And goodbye to Make Them Debate. And don't forget the Instagram Garden of Freedom. My computer, I have to download a lot of data in doing this show. Each show is anywhere from 3 to 5 gigs of data. And we've done over 150 plus episodes. And so apparently I forgot to clean out my C drive and crashed my computer. So I've got 4,000 files that are transferring right now. So when we get back from your honeymoon, I'll have more space there. I'm gonna have to buy another hard drive, but yeah, I mean, can't wait to start the show off. It's really weird that we're starting this year off with a show and then taking a 2-week break and from like major production.
Well,
so
CJ, if it makes you feel any better, we can call today December 32nd, 2020, and this will be the actual last day.
we could do that. I mean, in the Adam
much.
versus the Man universe, this is something we could do. We could just declare it to be December 32nd and happy new year from the old year, I guess.
Yeah.
We do what we want.
It's like toddlers are running this show or something.
I mean, you are the king of Gardenia, and this is the Gardenia, Ministry of Propaganda. So if you can successfully convince us that it's still 2020 after that rancid year, more power to you, my liege.
Hey, if the U.S. government can change the time itself by passing a law called daylight saving, then I can change the name of a date in the Gardenian calendar. Today is December 32nd, 2020. You haven't made it yet. All right, no, and it is worth noting that, and this is a really fun way to sort of end the season maybe today, to end on a fun, positive note. But there's one thing we didn't really talk about in our New Year's Eve special that I wanted to get into, but we had so many great guests and you guys were awesome. But there's this like, okay, 2020 is done. It's over. Cool. We're past this. And it's like, this virus hoax still has a lot of momentum. It's going to be with us for a while. I hope it can be done soon enough that we can say that was a 2020 thing. But I don't think so.
No, Adam, I went to Target last night and Walmart, and I went and bought a new laptop so I can produce this show from anywhere with a semi-decent internet connection in the world. And I went to Target, and I swear to you, Adam, I was the only one that did not have a mask on my face walking into that store. It was weird. I was looked at. I was just waiting for the first Karen to challenge me because I had my phone at the ready. But, I was like, this will make for great content on the show if I get chewed out.
Hold on, let me respond to that versus I think I'm going to go into the airport recording, but I haven't been recording any of my unmasked where I should be masked interactions. None of them have been worthy of sharing. Even I've had people say
most people like here, Adam, I've experienced have just let you walk. But I mean, I would like to think there's a part of the people that, there's people out there that are like, hey, it's your choice not to. I'm going to respect that. And therefore, when I'm filled with a room full of 100 people with masks and nobody says, hey, asshole, put on a mask.
They don't believe in it. It's because they don't believe in it. It's like, oh, it's so important that we have to mandate it. But if someone doesn't do it, if it was like a virus that was actually going to be a threat to you, you'd be like, I'll wait. If you're crazy enough to go in the store without a mask, I'll wait till you're gone. And then they wipe everything. Like, no, nobody really believes in the shit. Like, CJ,
I believe that walking into a store without a mask is going to be the new, oh, man, look at that guy. He definitely doesn't give a fuck. I wish I could just be that free.
Yeah. So CJ, to back you up on that, the more encouraging, positive experience I've had here, even in Southern California, gyms don't care. People named Jim are totally cool with that. I know. I mean, gyms where you go to like Anytime Fitness, when you go and they'll have a sign on the door, and I've seen since I've been going to the gym in Southern California this past week, it's been like 5 different workouts, and I've seen only 2 or 3 people in gyms wearing masks. 90+% are not. And that's Anytime Fitness. That's not like the hardcore bodybuilder goals. Anytime Fitness is a pretty mainstream gym. Soccer moms go to Anytime Fitness. I mean, it's a really good all-purpose everybody gym. Hardly any masks. And you saw the thing I shared on my Instagram. It said member of the month on the board. They have fun little membership things at those clubs, and it says member of the month, and then underneath was just the big sign printed out. I am more afraid of the government than the virus. Like the meathead revolt that I predicted. I should have come up with a better term for it because it's fucking happening.
Well,
Yeah,
hopefully
you
it's
know,
going
there's a
to,
lot of people pumping iron right now saying "fuck the mask." I mean, you know, it's stopping me getting my gains. You know, you know I mean, more power to them. Whatever's motivating you to not fall for the government propaganda and to be that one in the crowd that you know is saying, "Hey, remember how it used to be? Remember when we used to see each other's faces and like you could, you know, kind of discern somebody's demeanor by just looking at them." Now I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, I was pro public masking before coronavirus because it was a felony
Right
and
to
it doesn't
privacy.
cause a victim.
Right.
So
I know every single day that's passed has been somebody's birthday. I wonder how many people stopped doing the blow out the candles thing and then sharing a cake afterwards.
yeah, man. Like, I mean, I'm keenly aware of like particles now, like as particle disbursement as just a natural element of the human petri dish, I guess. And so it's like when you go to like somebody's house and you're like, oh, that cheese dip, that just might be riddled with COVID. You know what's really sad, Adam, is that my daughter Aubrey on the way to the store, she's like, I want to wear a mask. I don't want to get COVID. My 6-year-old. And I was like, you know what? At this point, I had to put my foot down. I'm like, Aubrey, COVID is a government hoax just designed to take away your rights. And you're too little to understand it right now. But guess what? You don't have to wear a mask right now. We walked into the store. Like, you know, I'm not going to force my kid to wear a mask, you know, and then fall for propaganda. It's just so stupid. But then there's going to be some woman out there that's like, oh, my God, call CPS right now.
Well, we still have our work cut out for us in 2021. I
Yes,
suppose.
sir. The war for
Jim?
freedom never ends. And with that being said, I will see you guys in a week or so here.
Yep.
right,
All right,
guys.
Jim. Any last critical comments?
From
you
no, this
or
is
the
it. Last one, Craig said, enjoy your break. You've earned it. Safe travel.
Aw, thanks, Craig. All right, so we do have some legit good news on this day in history worth sharing very quickly here. It was 120 years ago today. The Federation of Australia was born. Now, that's not the good news. That's kind of like government consolidation. Very well packaged as status good news. But there was some more significant positive developments in human history on this day. In 1808, the importation of slaves was banned. Importation of slaves into the United States was banned. On this day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing slaves in some ways, leading to new attitudes about slavery, despite his own racism. Yeah. On this day in 1942, the UN Declaration was signed by 26 nations. On this day in 1804, Haiti became the first independent country in the West Indies. On this day in 1899, Spanish rule ended in Cuba. On this day in 1948, Italy got a constitution. On this day in 1949, UN ceasefire orders in Kashmir stopped the war between India and Pakistan. On this day for independence, 1956, Sudan. 1960, Cameroon. 1962, Western Samoa. 1984, the Sultanate of Brunei. On this day in 2000, the feared Y2K computer bugs caused none of the problems predicted to arise with the new millennium date. Let's take that as a positive reminder. And it was on this day in 1892, Ellis Island opened as a new immigration depot in the New York City harbor. And over 40% of the U.S. population, about 100 million Americans, can trace their roots back to this doorway. And with that, we'll see you in certainly no more than 2 weeks. You can keep up with me and all of our adventures in Hawaii on social media. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. At least those will be active, and you'll know when we go live again, certainly no later than January 18th, that Monday. Until then, peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent to each other.